All right, everyone, here we are. We are on the probably the most critical technology in the game in Victoria 3 here on We Play Games. We're talking about railways today. So, railways. How do I get off telling you that railways are the most important thing in the game? Well, it's because of this thing right here. So, infrastructure. What is infrastructure? It's the thing that kind of like determines whether or not the state gets market access. Market access is going to be determined, one, by supply routes, like do you have enough convoys or not, but it's also going to be determined by local state infrastructure. Local state infrastructure is going to be kind of like telling you how many buildings you can build on site. And if you've seen me talk about like how you should build stuff, which is mostly like really big because of the throughput efficiency bonus that you get from having a big stack. You see this here down at the bottom, throughput total, and it's because of economies of scale. So economies of scale say big buildings good, and yeah, big buildings good, but buildings take infrastructure. Infrastructure is expensive. You can't just build it all with ports, so you need to get it somewhere else. Fortunately, you have rail. Rail is one of these things that there are modifiable ways to get more or less infrastructure or transportation out of them. But regardless, you get tons of infrastructure, which is amazing. Infrastructure is so good. So let's see if this is still on. Yeah. So what am I doing? I'm trying to demonstrate that like at some point you can get yourself so built up that you actually run out of infrastructure before you run out of pops. It's a little harder with Great Britain, just because of how fiercely industrialized they start. But all right, let's see. Yorkshire, that's a good one. Yorkshire, we've got 215,000 peasants and plus 30 infrastructure. So that means that right now it's at 100% market access. That's awesome. But let's see what happens when we start to build up. So let's build there and there. Sure. So we just built some stuff to try to employ some of those peasants, which we did, but unfortunately now we're at minus 20 infrastructure. So what does that mean? That means that now we're suffering from a market access penalty there, which is going to be making it hard for all economic access to all economic activity to occur through there. So things are going to they're not going to make it in. Resources aren't going to make it in, and resources aren't going to make it out. And so going through over your infrastructure capacity is really bad, and that's why you want to make sure that your rail is up to size. Otherwise, you're just like infrastructure problems are up there with like tax waste problems in terms of real problems that you really should address. Yeah, all right, yeah. Oh, there's one more thing I wanted to say about railways, which is that it ties into the automation thing. Don't be afraid to use your transportation in your buildings. You don't want to, make it so that it crashes the profitability of the buildings, but by using it in these buildings, you kind of reduce your own subsidy cost, right? So right now, let's see what we're subsidizing at. We're subsidizing. Oh, are we not subsidizing we don't have to subsidize our rail here? No, we are subsidizing our rail. It's just not currently because we are using enough of our transportation, it's not a problem. But when your transportation starts getting really underpriced because you just build enormous amounts of rail to support your huge cities, you really do need to turn these transportation things on, because they'll prevent you from having to pay subsidies to your rail, because the rail can support itself if it can sell all of the transportation, right? That it's a very clever little loop. And of course the removal of laborers largely is good for you. Laborers do not make a lot more than peasants, even in a good industrialized society like Great Britain, where people are making lots of money locally hand over fist sometimes. These guys are they're only 2.4 above peasants. Like, the laborers are, generally speaking, going to be one of the other things kind of holding your SOL down, and therefore holding your growth back, because they're not even like participating. They are participating in economic activity more than peasants, but only by a little bit. So yeah, that's steam engines. Also engines, railway, they get you like good journal entries, right? Anything that gets you research is a good journal entry. The other ones, the bonuses for production, can also be really helpful, but research is just so good. It's so good. It's so good. All right. Yeah, that's it. That's railways. It's the best tech. It's the number one tech in the game. Okay, bye.